Are gas prices changing car culture? There comes a point when loving cars starts to collide with real life. Not in theory, not in some online debate, but right now in our own driveway, in your own budget, and in your own decisions. Lately, this is something we have been thinking a lot about because, like a lot of people right now, we're at the point where we may need to buy another vehicle. And that sounds simple enough until you realize it really is not. Because on one side of you says, be practical, buy something sensible, something reliable, something that makes sense for everyday life. But then the other side of you, the side that loves cars, starts thinking about something with personality, something older, something interesting. Maybe even a hot rod, or a project car. Maybe the kind of vehicle that is not just transportation, but something that you actually feel connected to. And this is where this conversation starts. Because this is more about just buying another vehicle. This is about the quiet tension a lot of car people are feeling right now. Tension between practicality and passion. For a long time, car culture has lived in that extra space. The weekend drives, the project in the garage, the late tuning sessions at night. The car you bought because it made no sense except in our hearts. But life changes things. Fuel costs matter, insurance matters, maintenance, parts, time, these things all matter. And all of a sudden, the question is not just, what do I want to drive? It becomes, what can I actually justify? That is a different question. And maybe that is where this shift begins. Because when enough people start asking practical questions, car culture starts changing too. Maybe the weekend cruiser gets driven less. Maybe that project car gets put on hold. Maybe the fun car gets passed over for something safer, cheaper, newer, and easier to work on. And little by little, you start to wonder, are gas prices just annoying? Or are they quietly changing the way we live with cars? That is the part I keep coming back to. Because I don't think this is only about fuel. Fuel is the visible part. What is really happening is bigger than that, though. It's the cost of participation, the cost of staying connected to the things you love, the cost of choosing something emotional in a world that keeps refining practicality. And yet this affects everything from hot rodding to tuning, import cars, your classic muscle car. Every time this idea just goes for a drive because we wanted to. When the cost of ownership goes up, when the cost of driving goes up, when daily life gets tight, passion has to fight harder for room. This does not mean car culture disappears, but it means it changes. Many people build differently. Maybe they drive less. Maybe they become more selective. Maybe they keep one practical vehicle and save the dream for later. Or maybe we start asking a harder question. If gas powered fun becomes harder to justify, is electric the future? And that's a whole other debate. Because for some, electric feels like progress, and for the rest, it feels like compromise. Some will say it's not the next chapter, and some will say it is. It's something important. And maybe this is the most emotional question of all. If you put an electric motor in a classic car, does it still have a soul? That's not a simple question to answer. Because a car's soul is not just the body, but it's not just the motor either. It could be the interior, the way the car feels, the noise, the vibration, the smell, and it's something that gives back to the driver as well. It could be just memories, the history of that feeling. So when you change the heart of the car, have you preserved it? Or have you changed the very thing that made it matter? I do not think there is one perfect answer to that question, and maybe that is why this conversation matters. Because this is not really about proving one side right and the other wrong. It's asking about what we value. What are we willing to adapt? What are we willing to lose? And what happens to car culture when real life keeps pushing us towards the sensible choice? That is what makes this personal. Because when you're trying to choose your next vehicle, these are not the abstract ideas anymore. You feel them. Do you want to buy practical? Or do you want to buy something that speaks to you? Do you make the smart decision? Or do you hold on to that little bit of passion while you still can? Maybe that has always been part of the car person's ideology, but today it feels heavier because the gap between practicality and passion feels bigger than it used to. Maybe that's the real question behind all of this. Not whether car culture is ending, but whether it's being reshaped by cost, by pressures, by technology, and by the choices everyday people are being forced to make. Maybe this is not the end of car culture. Maybe it's just the start of a different chapter. But even if car culture changes, I think the deeper question stays the same. How much of the soul can change before it stops feeling like that thing we love in the first place? I'd like to hear from you. If you were in this position right now, what would you choose? Practical, or would you go with your heart? And as the world changes, what do you think will next happen to car culture?